All right. It's my honor and privilege to introduce our opening speaker, Ambassador Dr. T.V. Nagendra Prasad, the Honorable Consulate General of India. Dr. Prasad took office as a Consulate General in San Francisco last year in the middle of the pandemic, and he started several initiatives to further increase the partnership between the two countries. Before taking office here in San Francisco, he served the Ministry of External Affairs as the Joint Secretary, serving the Gulf Division. He joined the Indian Foreign Service in 1993 and served in various positions at the Indian missions, including Tehran, London, Thimphu, Bern, and Ashgabat. He was also India's ambassador to Turkmenistan from July 2014 to January 2018. Ambassador Dr. Prasad has been very active in the innovation and entrepreneurship economy in the Indian diaspora, and today he'll share his insights from the recent economic reforms by the Indian government and how they further improve India-US relations. Please join me in welcoming Ambassador Dr. Prasad. Ambassador Prasad.
Namaste to everyone. I'm honored to join the distinguished group of audience at IIT Bay Area Leadership Conference 2021. The IITians have in fact flew the flag of India very high across the world, more so in the US, more so in Bay Area. We are proud of you. We are meeting at a time when the world is slowly emerging from the dark shadows of COVID-19 pandemic. I must mention that on October 21st this year, India achieved the mammoth task of administering 1 billion COVID vaccines to its population. Thanks to our COVID warriors, thanks to our technology, thanks to our pharma sector who have produced indigenous vaccines. Just a sec. I'm missing something. My camera is on, or?
Yes, it is.
Yeah?
Yes, it is, please. Yeah. You're good. We can hear you. Go ahead.
Friends, COVID-19 pandemic has come as a black swan event, unexpected disruptor. It has redefined the new normal in a way that none of us had ever imagined, but the technology made it possible to run the show, even in such a pandemic situation. However, the government of India had shown its resolve to convert the challenges posed by the pandemic into opportunities to make India self-reliant and a more significant player in the global economy. In this regard, Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi gave a clarion call and launched the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, everyone might be knowing, in May 2020. It was designed to open up new avenues of trade and investment in the post-COVID economy. Besides several reforms across the sectors initiated during the pandemic, last year, Government of India has also rolled out a US $1.6 billion productivity-linked incentive for the electronics manufacturing sector as part of Atmanirbhar Bharat 3.0 package. This scheme now extends to IT hardware, which includes laptops, tablets, all-in-one PCs, and servers. The scheme has been expanded to auto industry, drone systems, etc. India has consistently provided its performance on World Bank's Ease of Doing Business Index. We stand at 63rd position globally now, registering an impressive jump of 37 places in the last 2 years. India has ranked at 48th position in Global Innovation Index. That's also a jump of 33 positions globally. The Indian government's favorable policy and robust business environment has ensured that foreign direct investment, foreign capital keeps flowing into the country. India received over US dollars 81 billion in 2021. Despite the pandemic, it was the fifth largest recipient of FDI inflows in the world, according to UNCTAD. The government has taken many initiatives in the recent years, such as relaxing FDI norms across the sectors, including defense, the public sector units like oil refineries, telecom, power exchanges, stock exchanges, among the others. Simplification of GST, that is goods and service tax, is a major achievement, and reforms in bankruptcy code, particularly for the foreign direct investment, the scrapping of retrospective taxation system, which provides confidence in the foreign direct investment agencies. Reduction of corporate taxes are some of the main measures that reflects government of India's commitment attracting greater FDI inflows. Today, most of the sectors are open for 100% FDI through automatic routes, but for some certain sensitive sectors. In addition, Government of India has recently launched National Infrastructure Pipeline, first of its kind initiative to provide world-class infrastructure across the country. Nearly 7,000 projects across different sectors, costing about 100 crore rupees per project, and totaling to 111 lakh crore. I think Indians understand this figure, have been identified. An equity infusion of 6,000 crores has been made in the. There is an agency called National Investment and Infrastructure Fund, NIIF. This pipeline has attracted several foreign participants, including some leading sovereign wealth funds across the world. Finance Minister has also recently announced a plan called National Monetization Pipeline, NMP. This is a repository of de-risked brownfield infrastructure projects. The infrastructure projects with stable revenue streams available under National Monetization Plan entail a limited period of leasing of an asset owned by the government and public authority to a private sector. So basically, it gives us some leeway to get funds from within the country. Large infrastructure developers and investors can invest through direct contractual models like operate, maintain, transfer, operate, maintain, develop, design, build, finance, operate, transfer, and then long-term lease, etc. Though things have been liberalized, that is what I wanted to signal. Friends, despite the challenges and uncertainty, India continues to perform well. India remains one of the fastest growing economies in the world. World Bank estimates 8.3% growth for 2021-22. Several other reports also reflect the same sentiments. In the next few years, according to IMF, India will become the world's fastest growing economy, large economy. India's export also picked up very strongly in the last quarter. It was about 500 billion. It registered really, very, very significant growth. That is 47% jump over past year. This is just a reflection on how the investors and market sentiments are betting on India. On the other hand, if you look at the future, that also comes up with equal measure of promise. The next 10 years, India is poised to become third largest consumer market after the US and China. By 2030, there will be over 850 million internet users in India. Mobile phone penetration will cross 1 billion mark by the same year. We are looking at major Indian cities all in the next 10-15 years. They become larger than many middle income countries, some cities in India. telecom, health, digital economy, renewables. These are the areas where India is poised to lead the rest of the world. In short, over the next 20 years, India offers more growth opportunities for global businesses than any other destination. There is no other market that holds such a promise as India. How? No, let me just say, there are 5 broad baskets. One is growth factor. We are the fastest growing large economy. Second, we are a young country with a median age of just 28 years. Third, domestic market propelled by a huge consumer base. Middle income group is increasing in India. That consumer base will be about 1.3 billion. Much of it is still young and aspirational. Fourth, India's changing global profile. Many leading businesses across the world are seriously not just thinking about India, but are entering Indian market very aggressively. Last but not the least, the leadership at the top is very focused. The government is in promoting investment and employment into the country. And this basically ensured that India's reform story will have a transformational impact on the rest of the world's global economy as well. India-US relations, I will just briefly touch. Two vibrant and multicultural democracies, India and US, have been deepening their partnership across the sectors. And the Indian community here plays a very, very significant role in that. The comprehensive global strategic partnership between the two countries is anchored in mutual trust, shared values, and robust engagement of our citizens. The warmth and depth of our relationship was amply reflected in the recent visit of Honorable Prime Minister to United States, Washington, late September. Several high-level engagements, including the first in-person bilateral meetings with US President Joe Biden and Prime Ministers of Australia and Japan, who are part of Quad, and meeting with Vice President Kamala Harris in person. These are all the first in-person meetings despite the pandemic and then difficult conditions for visits. So that itself shows, reflects our relationship. During his visit, Prime Minister also met the CEOs from major US corporates who have already either invested in significant amounts in India or proposed to expand their investments. I think there were few from Bay Area. We see CEOs of Qualcomm, Adobe, First Solar, General Atomics, and Blackstone. These were the people. That shows the government's resolve at the leadership level to expand our relations, particularly in tech and investment sector. Our shared concern in creating healthier world goes hand in hand with combating climate change. The second area of cooperation between India and US, India remains committed to the goals of Paris Climate Accord and welcomes the return of US to this important agreement. Here again, India has demonstrated its leadership, creating International Solar Alliance along with France, while being on track to surpass our voluntary commitments under Paris Accord. Our solar energy production is expected or targeted to reach 450 gigawatts by 2030, which will hugely reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 30 to 35% by that year. Digital economy is another one which is close to you all, and it is a critical area. India has one of the largest digital economies in the world, with the digital GDP poised to cross $1 trillion by 2025. We are very strong on the human resource pool, and it is still growing, and there are tremendous opportunities to expand our collaboration in whatever the new technologies you are well aware of, 5G, AI, big data analytics, quantum computing, blockchains, and IoT, etc. So we are all basically looking at increasing our contribution towards these sectors globally. There are about 200,000 students anytime you see in US, Indian students, and they become a big source of strength and an important bridge between our two peoples. This knowledge bridge has unleashed entrepreneurship and innovation from Boston to Bangalore. As this is poised to expand structured partnerships that take advantage of it. I'm not mentioning how is the startup sector. These are the youngsters who are getting into startup sector, and then they are building the cross-border bridges. What I wanted to mention was India's new national education policy launched will help in fostering the relationship between the universities and educational institutions of our two countries. Friends, to conclude, let me reiterate that there is a growing recognition of India's expanding potential and vast opportunities. You are the best ambassadors to spread this word, its growing economy, and flagship programs like Make in India, Digital India, Startup India. We have third largest startup ecosystem in the world. So it is growing. So coupled with the Atmanirbhar Bharat and the self-reliant India and these production linked incentives, liberalization in the FDI, etc. I think it is transforming India's role globally. So to echo, Indian reforms are not just about itself, but about transforming the world around. This is to echo our own Honorable Prime Minister's words during his address to United Nations. My sincere thanks to IIT Bay Area alumni for this invitation to address you all. This is a leadership conference. I think it's annual. I'm very, very happy and honored. Once again, I would like to thank the organizers. And I also appreciate your patience to listen to me this morning. Thank you very much. Namaste.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Dr. Prasad. That was a very insightful presentation and a tremendous start to this conference. We really appreciate you joining us, and thank you.